Hello, Tatiana.
Hello.
Nice to meet you today to celebrate the launch of your second novel in Norwegian, Flaskehagen. Congratulations.
Thank you.
We've been waiting.
Like this, at least. Mine didn't arrive yet.
Yes. And you're also now, as you can see, because we're in the Camino bookstore, you have been placed now together with the rest of the Camino family books, and also your first novel.
Yeah,
Hadde, grønne øyne. Yes. So Flaskehagen is your second novel. And very briefly, it's about a young girl, a little girl in Moldova during Russian Soviet occupation. And she tells the story of how she's taken from an orphanage by a Russian woman, and where she thought maybe she would be rescued. It's really not rescuing that she goes into. She goes into laboring with this woman and collecting bottles to make money in the Moldovan capital. And she really tells this story to her biological parents, I think, who sort of left her to the orphanage. And it's really a book about, well, the life in those times in Moldova. Maybe a book about love and lack of love and belonging. But it's also very much a book about, I would say, identity, connected to culture and language, because of the times in Moldova. She's asked to, well, she has to learn Russian, and it's the Russian culture that she's sort of forced into. And you're from Moldova yourself, and you lived during those years. And so I wanted to ask you, why did you write this book specifically? What did it mean to you when you wrote it?
Well, I've asked myself many times this question, especially now when the time change and we have a new war, and it's a war which for us it's one of the worst wars, because for us people in that part of the world, the war with Ukraine, it is a war, and we don't name it differently. So I was asking myself, why did I write this book? And the answer was every time another one, because like 2 years ago it was probably for one reason, but today I understand that without maybe wanting it or understanding it, I wrote it for other reasons as well. It is a book, as you said, about different things, and it's not only about one, because it's a book about identity, but it's also a book about struggling for that identity, and a book about becoming, and how people have to live with two identities for a long time, and what do they choose, what do they keep, what do they not keep and leave behind. For me, it was an important book because I had lots of questions as a migrant, because after a certain age you feel that you need to understand who you are and why are you like that and not differently, because same people from the same country, they can develop differently. And then you are abroad like me, and then you are far away from your home. You really need some answers to that question. So for me, it was a book where I wanted to go back where I grew up, to understand certain things, to see how did we become like that. But today I'm thinking whether that book was important for other reason as well. It was important to understand how much of the past I forgive and how much past I forget. And I felt that I'm coming to a sort of understanding with myself, but now things changed again. So all those questions popped up again in a different color. So it's a long answer to a short question.
Can we talk a little bit about Lastotsjka, the girl, the main character in Flaskehagen? She's being rescued, or is she being rescued? Well, what can we say about that? Because she lives in.
You said that before, but she wasn't rescued. But I think you are right when you say she was not rescued, but also she was rescued because she was adopted by this woman from the orphanage, and she was bought as well from that orphanage. And it's true that she exploited her through work. She was collecting these bottles, and this was a very dirty work. Not everyone would do it, not everyone needed to do it. But in the same time, this woman gave her everything, and she gave her a family, and she was working for her in a way. You know, this was the way she showed her love, like to work together to gain this money, and then she could have a better future. So in a way, it wasn't something extraordinary, the work at that time. I remember that we all grew up like that in Soviet Union. We had to work, you know, in that time, children had less rights and more obligations, let's put it like that. It's true that not in every family you would find violence, but that was also rare because it was this kind of idea that if parents are abusing you, let's say they are obliging you to work, and even if they beat you up, it's for your own good. So we are talking about a difficult context. It wasn't only in this family, she wasn't the only one. And she says at one point in the book that it wasn't only her, all the children had this kind of childhoods at home. But in the same time, she has something more than the other children to struggle with, and this is that she is obliged to forget her language, which was Moldovan, Romanian now, but Moldovan at the time. And she also was obliged to see only the Russian grandeur, let's say it like the Russian way. So she was obliged to be or Russian or nothing. And this woman who adopted her was Russian. So for her, this was this struggle because she knew that her parents are from other side, Romania, but she was obliged to choose everything which was Russian because this was the time, and it was considered that if you are not somehow speaking Russian or going to a Russian university, you will never achieve anything in life. And now we are coming back to this question again, like, was she happy to be adopted, or was she not happy to be obliged to do that? So it's her drama on different levels, but also this is a drama of that part of the world, that country, Moldova. This is a metaphor about our own country. It's not only about her own childhood and her own becoming.
Mm. Because you also, she sort of, after she's adopted them, let's say, she grows up in an environment in Chisinau, the capital, where she's surrounded by personalities or people. They're both Moldovan and also Russian, and they sort of come into the story with different starting points. But is this something that you tailored specifically to show this sort of plurality or multitude of
but Chisinau at the time was quite multicultural. I grew up, so let's say that the character has things from my own childhood and things from the history of the country. So when I'm talking about this little yard in Chisinau where she grows up, it's actually my yard. So we grew up with a lot of nationalities. We had Ukrainians, we had Russians, we had Moldovans, we had Jews. So this is when you would go out, it would be a sort of calmer Babylon there. Mm-hmm. But at the same time, Russian was the language which united all this outside world, even if at home everyone would continue speaking their own languages. So I didn't have to tell her that. It's less so now in Moldova because lots of Jews left after our independence. Ukrainians and Russians, the number of them changed as well, and Romanians became after all this struggle Romanians, and so we could speak our language more freely. But at the time it was like that, and I didn't have to make this character just to make the book more colorful. This was the reality, and that is something which I really wanted to show, that on one hand, people seem to be very happy together, having one language which unites them. But on the other hand, all those groups of people, they needed to somehow to, to forget themselves a bit and to step behind, just to embrace Russian as a only language which changed a lot after independence, of course. So yes, all those people were real.
Well, I'm glad that you've written this, I have to say, in all the aspects of it. I think that I'm going to say that we'll continue this conversation in November. What do you think? And because you're going to come to Norway then, and we'll meet you in person in several cities in the country here.
Looking forward to that.
Yes. Me too. And congratulations again.